Hello, good morning. All right, there we go. We got sound now. You know, sometimes these technical things, they baffle your mind, even though you work with them every day. Today they work, tomorrow they don't work. That's just how it is. So good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody, wherever you're viewing from. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on another Let's Get Real. Of course, I'm EK, checking in. I know some folks been sitting around waiting for us to go live, so we're here now. We're live. We're live. Just a couple of things. Just reminding you that this afternoon at 1:30, Dr. Terrence Drew will be my guest on the first half of Issues. Of course, you know the politics continues. I just happened to be making a run last night, and I was in Sandy Point. And then, interestingly enough, Sandy Point was being painted yellow. So right now in Sandy Point, there's a battle going on right now, a battle of the paints. One morning you might wake up and the whole of Sandy Point is orange. Then the next morning you wake up, it back to yellow again. Yo, that was something to see last night. You understand? Because when I first got into Sandy Point, everything was orange, you know. I saw people from PLP down on the lower street canvassing. And then when I was leaving Sandy Point yellow. Sandy Point was yellow. A semi, huh?
So you have to understand.
Well, sir. So let me get my bearings here up and running, make sure that I'm good to go because I don't want anybody to miss anything. Janice, good morning to you. Loretta, darling, always front and center. Yeah, I hope not cut off today. I hope the electricity stays on because yesterday, while we were in the midst and in the heart of a thing, the current decide that ina stay on by. I don't know what really went down. I don't know what really happened. But for whatever reason, whatever reason, whatever reason, um, hey, can you guys hear me loud and clear? Just want to make sure. I'm getting a message here. Somebody said they're not hearing me. So just want to make sure that everybody good. Are we loud and clear? My microphone sound good from on this end. I'm not sure how you're doing over there, but you can let me know. You can let me know in the comment section. All right. So this morning, folks, we are going to have as one of our guests an NRP candidate. I've been sending out the invitations for candidates to come on. I've got scheduled one of the NRP candidates this morning, and tomorrow morning I should be having a candidate from the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. So the candidates are rolling in. Yesterday, I touched base with somebody from the People's Action Movement, and hopefully, if not this week, early next week, I should be having a candidate from the People's Action Movement to have conversations, to put certain things into perspective, to hear what their views are about the current political climate. Because unless we hear from these people in an environment that, is controlled, toned down, concise, precise, without the latter rah rah and the. So because sometimes we hear the candidates and we see them in a certain light, and we don't get the true essence. I mean, maybe on the ground when they canvass in, but in terms of a media presence, because the last conversation I had with a political candidate was the leader of the NRP, Dr. Daniel Hodge, and that conversation was pretty good. I mean, it was informative, it was cool, it was calm, it was collective, and I really appreciate having those types of conversations with candidates to put things out there, because they tend to lie on each other a whole lot, and sometimes, to be honest with you, they control each other's narrative. Like, they would be out there pounding and saying, oh, the other side is saying this, the other side is saying that. And often than not, you cannot get a clear picture of what is exactly being said by the other side. And sometimes it becomes a little daunting because you have these misconceptions. And really and truly, I would like us to get away from the point in our political career where we just stick to one party. We should be voting on issues, and these candidates should be made to step up to the plate and present what it is they intend to do when they get in, and not just give me some blanch or vague utterances like, we're going to make things better for the youth. Well, tell me how and tell me when. And don't come back and tell me, oh, you have this thing in place. Because last night I was listening to the PLP youth, and the question was asked, what programs did the PLP put in place for the youth? And one of the answers was the PAP. The PAP, Poverty Alleviation Program. The PAP. I mean, come on. Wow, my microphone just jumped up there, but I was still with this. And I'm like, what? You must be kidding. The PAP? For young people, I would think that you would want, training. You would want some innovations, like finding new initiatives for people to get into entrepreneurship, new routes of education. I mean, these are the kind of things that you would hear from. Putting a sports program in place so that you find your best athletes, and you tailor a program catered specifically to them so that they can reach on the level, or even close to the level, that Jamaica is on, that Trinidad is on, you know, that even the USA is on. Because what happens is that we have had some great athletes, but because they didn't have that support system where they were supported by the community, by the government, so that they could focus on their sports, so that they don't have to say, you know what, when I done with six farm, I gonna go look at work because my family need me financially, and so I have to rest down sports and go look after my family. I mean, here's where the public and the private sector can step in to assist these people so that they don't have to, you know, go do a regular office job. They could become millionaires from being an athlete. But how could you focus on your athletics when you have other things to worry about? You know? Just focus on sports. We are going to make sure that your bills are covered, your family is okay, and you can just focus on sports. Get you the best trainers, get you up to speed with the latest technology, everything. Just invest in our athletes so that we can make some millionaires out of them. So far, I think we only have three. You got Kayamba, you got Atiba, and you got Kim Collins. We need to make some more athletes, really and truly. But the only way we can do that is to have something in place, a program in place that is tailored and catered to these youths. You have the peace program. The peace program, not a bad idea, but that dear shrouded in secrecy. I don't know if 20 years from now, if the program will still be around, and the young people might say, well, boy, this could be a launching pad for at-risk youths, that you can make it a little broader. So from the time you identify youths at a very young age who are prone to that kind of behavior, there's a program available so that they can go into to rehabilitate them. The rehabilitation, I mean, we don't hear too much about it. All we hear is that they're getting pet for peace. But if the organizers and the coordinators of this program would be just a little bit more transparent, I think everybody would be on board with it. But all you hear is that this lot of money is allocated to the peace program. You don't know who is on it. You don't know what they're doing in there. And they say it's a matter of national security. I don't know how true that is. Because the information that you're getting is like water off a duck back. Coyote Sutton went to the radio station. Yeah, they sat down with Judy Leiber to talk about the peace program. And when Coyote done talk, I'm more confused than when he first started. Way more. But anyhow, I could go on that rant for hours about all the things that and programs that can be introduced for the youth. But it is what it is. So this morning, folks, we have as our guest Mr. Rohan Isles. And I was at the launching of these candidates last Friday in Nevis, because I was one of the entertainers that was contracted to perform at the launch. And I listened to Mr. Isles, and I was quite impressed with his delivery, because I think that's where it starts. You must know where you are as a politician. Sometimes I find that our politicians, they're a little bit too scripted, and you as a politician, you must have some sense or some idea as to what you want to do, what you want to achieve, what your talking points are, what do you see in your community need changing, what is happening on your political climate that you need to change. And so I'm saying that at some point in time, the politicians have to at least have some form or some idea of what they want to do, what they want to achieve. And so I'm hoping that out of these series of conversations, we can get to the bottom of what these politicians have to offer, because we have seen that politicians come, they're well polished, they say these little lovely words, and then next thing you know, what happened? They get into government and they're lazy as shit. You can't get nothing of substance out of them. So Selassie, we want to see a little better. So we are going to say good morning to Mr. Isles. Bring him up on the screen there and make sure that he is good to go. Good morning, Mr. Isles.
Good morning, Ike. Good morning to your viewers. Thank you for having me. Good morning. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you now. I can hear you. But, well, Ike, again, thank you for having me. Rohan Isles. Well, I grew up in Barnesgott, that is a small little village in St. Thomas's Parish. I am the second of four children, two boys and two girls of Iona Isles Wallace. I attended the Charlestown preschool. One of the very few people in my age that from that parish who would have gone to Charlestown preschool. I then went on to St. Thomas's Primary School, Charlestown Secondary and Sixth Form College. Then I did some training at the Francis Ford Bryan Teacher Division. I spent 14 years in the classroom at the primary school level, all of which I must say was at the St. Thomas's Primary School. From there, I moved on to the Department of Disaster Management, where I served as the Public Education Information and Training Officer for a period of 2 years before I was promoted to the Ministry of Agriculture's Public Relations Officer's role. That would have been the last stint in my tenure in public service, which spans 18 years. Professional development, I did some training with the United Nations Development Program in youth capacity building, Trinidad and Tobago and Guyana in 2007, 6 months period. I also completed CDEMA's, that is Crime and Disaster Emergency Management Agency's inaugural training program. And I would have also done training in hydrology and some other things as part of work related professional development. In other spheres, I served on the Adult Street Parade Committee for Culturama for almost 15 years, for which I was the chairperson. To this day, the parade still uses the route that my committee would have instituted. So, that is a good thing. I served as a member of the first St. Thomas's Parish Festival. I was a youth parliamentarian for a number of years, regional youth parliamentarian. I served as both the president of the Nevis Highland Assembly and the speaker of the House for Youth Parliamentary Sit-ins both in St. Kitts and Nevis. I have done work for Cultural Queen contestants, script writing and interview practices and so on. I'm an avid sports fan. Okay, all sports. Any sport you can probably think of, I enjoy sports, and ever so often I do some umpiring. I would have successfully passed the West Indies Cricket Umpires Theory exam, and just never got around to completing the practical end of it. But, personal life, I am married to a Monstration gem, and we have 4 children, 13, 8, 6-year-old girls, and a 4-year-old boy. Personal philosophy, I believe in leaving people better off than how I met them. That is really what drives my desire to serve people. People would hear me say often and watch me funny, I struggle with being a politician. I the title, because of what we have seen in the past, really, I don't want to be too much caught with that. I say I'm in service to people, and that has been my desire consistently to do what I can to help people, and that is why I am in this particular race at this particular time, and I'm hopeful that at the end of the day, whatever my contribution is, directly or indirectly, that the changes that are required to uplift our people would come to the fore. And I said to my team, if it means that we agitate long enough and hard enough for the current representative and administration to do the things that we are hopeful of, or whether we get the opportunity to do it ourselves, at the end of the day, if it means that the people we are seeking to serve benefit, then I'm fine with that, because that is really the end goal of all of this.
All right. Well, somebody's reminding us that you started Hope Nevis. What's that?
Oh yeah, Hope Nevis Incorporated way back in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
That was a group of young people. I mean, not as vibrant now, unfortunately, and hopefully it will gain its legs again. But that was created out of a need to highlight the positive things young people do.
Mm-hmm.
In most cases, you only hear about positive things young people do if it's an attachment to something else, like, it's an attachment to an institution or government organization or something like that, or recognized youth body. And so I was invited to a show that was being hosted by Pastor Ron Daniel. He wasn't pastor then. He and I are very good friends and former classmates, and call after call I berated and spoke about how young people were not doing this and not doing that. And I thought, what if we can or if we can begin to change the perception and to give young people an opportunity to come forward in avenues that are positive. And so that happened. We would have done quite a number of things back in that time. We launched initiatives that saw us partnering schools with businesses within the community. We provided hot meals for students who found themselves or their family found themselves in difficult situations. We provided awards and so on at graduation. We held a kids' carnival, and we just generally went about trying to create a space or create an avenue for young people to be involved in something that was positive and that was meaningful. And it became an accomplishment of sorts when you told people that you were part of Hope News Incorporated. And so, yeah, I'm proud of that accomplishment. And as I said, hopefully the drive can come again, because the group of us who started it are outside of the youth age, accepted youth age, to be a part of Hope News. And so, yeah, that was my first major organization to speak.
All right. Well, to be honest with you, what I'm getting from all of this is that you have started serving the island of Nevis and your surrounding communities from since. Your record is steeped in community service, not only to your country but surrounding communities and to your fellow nationals. And I think that should form the basis of what we look for in politicians when we are selecting candidates. You can't tell me that you're going to bring somebody to me who has never served their community on any level, not even join a football team, a football club, be a part of some kind, not at all. Because what that would say to me is that you're not getting into politics to serve people, you're getting into politics to serve yourself. And so if you would have started serving your community from a young age or for most of your life, then I can see where when you get into government, you will have a better understanding of what it takes to reach people and meet people where they are. And like you suggested, to leave them better than you would have met them. Mr. Isles, I want to move along very quickly. It's already 9:32. And I got from you in your opening statement why you would have wanted to get into to politics, the current affair, what you're seeing happening, the need for more programs to reach people on a certain level. But in terms of the NRP, why choose the NRP to be a candidate or to be the political platform from which you want to get into politics?
Yeah, I mean, an interesting question. People who know me and know my family background would tell you, and maybe you have heard it in different speeches, people say, "But that guy's a CCM." Because my family generally, the older ones, support the concerned citizens movement, and they have personal reasons as to why they would do that. It goes back to family connections and certain things that happened when they were growing up. One of the things about our family, though, is that our family never, tried to influence where we went in a political direction. As a matter of fact, we never spoke politics. And that is something I appreciated, and I think my younger siblings and family members appreciated, that we were allowed to look at what the current situations were and make determinations for ourselves as to which direction we wanted to go in terms of politics. Now, I grew up in an era of Joseph Walker Parry, and it was a simple tenet that he believed that everybody deserved an opportunity to develop and to grow and to advance themselves. He wasn't too bothered about whether you're blue, black, white, green, who your family was, where you came from. And he had this way of, choose my words here, bullish, not in a bad sense, but in a case where you just tell me what you want to do. Or do you want to do this, or do you want to do that? And then he'd find the opportunity to assist you. And so I kind of stuck to that in a sense of really wanting to help people, regardless of where they came from and who they were. At the end of the day, my thing is, I believe if we get to a place where we are all winning, then we are all better off, because it means then that we are not in a place where we're trying to fight on each other, or we're trying to grab, or we're trying to pull down because we want to get up. We're all in that space where we are benefiting, we're doing well, and the opportunities are present for you to excel and for you to do well. And when you look at the NRP's foundation principles and their vision tells us that it is about the holistic development of all, and providing a space within Nevis where we empower society and we empower our economy so that our people can advance, to have that upward mobility. And ultimately, I believe that is what is important. I believe in a Nevis where people are living comfortably. May sound simple. And comfortably by their own standard, because we tend to want to make people live according to how we think they should live. The dynamics of life tells us that is an evolving cycle. And to make people comfortable or to live comfortable, we have got to provide or consistently provide opportunities in housing, opportunities in employment, opportunities in healthcare, opportunities in education. Consistently providing those opportunities. Why? Because comfortable today will not be comfortable 15 years from now. And so the opportunities cannot stop. We have got to consistently provide opportunities for people to develop, for people to grow, for people to have upward mobility. And that level of comfort which they accept and say, okay, I am good at this point, or somebody who say, you know, I want to get to an even higher level to get comfortable, that because as a government we are providing the opportunities for these things to happen, and not just opportunities, equal and equitable access to these opportunities. A lot of time we hear, well, the opportunities are there, but do people have equal and equitable access to them? Or are they restricted and designed so that only some people benefit? I am particularly interested in the most vulnerable among us, those people where the underlying themes of poverty and gender inequality and the elderly and race and those areas where people seem to have it more difficult than others because of those underlying conditions. That access to those people become equitable, become equal, and so that they have the same opportunity based on equity to have some upward mobility, to advance themselves, to have some level of sustained prosperity for their families. And when I talk about that, I'm talking about being able to enjoy life now and to watch your children and your children enjoy life in their particular um, span of life. You know, the only thing guaranteed in life is you come in and you will go out. What happens in between is the real treasure. And that is why we elect people to serve. So that experience you have between your entrance and your exit is worth something. That you can feel, boy, I've truly lived life. I have had opportunities, equal access to those opportunities. And yes, it was worth it. Not a case where, you know, you find yourself trying to figure out which bill is going to be sacrificed today, or which item you have to put back on the shelf because you don't have enough to get it. And we find ourselves in those situations presently. And I believe that the economic space in St. Kitts and Nevis is big enough for all of us to have that share that allows us to live comfortable lives. And I believe very strongly, and facts have shown it. The evidence is there that when an NRP led administration is in power in Nevis and contributing at the federal level, that the people of Nevis do better. And this time around, I think we need to get to a position where whatever our legislative agendas are, both in St. Kitts and Nevis, that our people across the Narrows, in St. Kitts and in Nevis, are benefiting. That is the hallmark of a federal administration that is working. And that is not a case where Nevis feels that it has to wholesomely always be fighting or looking out for divisions, or that we believe that a Kittitian administration or parliamentarians in Singapore are only looking out for Kittitians. The federal conversation, the federal direction must represent equal opportunities for all our people, whether you live in Tabernacles and the Point, whether you live in Barnesgate, in Cherry Garden, whether you live on George Street. We've got to get to the point where federal direction means a federal direction and that our people are benefiting from that. And I am hopeful that I get the opportunity that whatever programs and plans that I am able to create and to push forward will have that kind of impact. And that we can say it was better to have had that kind of mentality in service to our people.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you this though, because I'm guessing that you've been looking at things for quite a while now, and how things are playing out now in the current political climate that we're in. But what do you think contributes to this whole tug of war between a St. Kitts federal government and a Nevis federal government? I mean, should there be any distinction in terms of a St. Kitts and a Nevis from a federal standpoint? Because I'm thinking that if whomever party wins the federal will have something in place, a policy that they may want to achieve, things that they may want to develop in Nevis from a federal level, and introduce those policies and ultimately those laws into the federal arrangement so they can have them, being executed in Nevis. But what do you think contributes to this whole rah-rah between the Nevis fraction and the St. Kitts fractions?
I agree with you. I can't say that I have seen a lot of that policy direction at present when it comes to the political parties in St. Kitts, and if I miss it, I'd be happy to be pointed in the right direction. And that is just my thinking as well, that the federal government must have that kind of representation for the federal level, and that is St. Kitts and Nevis. What is important for me is that Nevision politicians or Nevision elected representatives must be a part of the conversation in how plans and policies that are crafted to benefit Nevis are done. What contributes to the tug of war we are seeing? I believe that the constitutional framework presently has a part to play in it. I believe that because there is a local administration for Nevis and there isn't a local administration for St. Kitts, we have issues in how things are done. Because when you look at St. Kitts, when you look at St. Kitts, you see a federal establishment. You don't see a local government like Nevis. And so that happens because you find now that divisions, as I said before, feel like they're always having to battle out a fight for something. Or as now we are hearing the term, the fair share. The reality is the relationships in the past between St. Kitts and Nevis has not always, on a political and administrative level, has not always been the best. It has improved over time. And, in the past 7 years, one would have thought, having been touted as the best relationship that we would have had, that we would have seen a completely different direction in how things work between St. Kitts and Nevis. And the problem here is that nobody on our end thought it necessary to make the requirements or the desires to have certain things equal and equitable law. Now, a lot of people talk about fair share. The problem with fear, the word fear is an emotional word. Because fear is based on how you may see things. And I may see it differently. You may say, well, listen, there are 10 apples here. It's my land, but you went go pick, so I think it's only fair I give you 5. But then the question comes down to, is it right? And so I have gotten to the point where, what is the rightful share? And how do we get to that point? Because when we talk about right now, we're talking about law and the Constitution. And if we are to get to the point where we're saying, okay, well, this is what St. Kitts should get, this is what Nevis should get, based on the Constitution, then a lot of this back and forth and fair share and lump sum that was supposed to come, and a lot of that goes away. Because now we're dealing with what the law provides for in terms of the sharing apparatus between cities. And it is important because then people can see, well, this isn't Rohan's ideal of fear. This isn't EK's ideals of fear. This is what the Constitution now provides in sharing revenue, and not just revenue, but anything that has to be shared. But we can't overlook the fact that a lot of ego is at play currently. A lot of people want to grandstand and carry on with a lot of things. In Nevis, what has happened is that our party, NRP, has really charged against the CCM in its inaccountability, or its inability to be accountable for the same fair share that they've asked for. And that is what has really got them in an anxiousness, because now people are seeing that there really has been no accountability for that which they said they were fighting for. And fair share must have fair representation. And fair representation, I mean that there must be accountability and responsibility in the things you're asking for in the name of innovation. We can't continue to accept that you're going to say, I'm fighting for XYZ for the people of Nevis, but yet you must not be held accountable for those things. And that cannot be, that should not be, and under an NRP that will not be, because it is our intent to come to the people with the information. And as I said, I found that to be one of the most challenging things in politics administration, in governance that I've seen in St. Kitts and Nevis in decades, is our inability to share information with the public. We seem to want to feel that, the people should not know certain things, or they should only know when we feel that they should know. And that should not be the case. We have to remember that we are employed by the people. We are custodians of the people's government. Mm-hmm. We are pushers of the people's policies and agendas. And we must be responsible and accountable to our people. And that is how government works effectively. Because people would now be in a position to say, boy, okay, I know this, I know that. People are well informed, and well informed people make well informed decisions. And the problem I've had is that I have found that politicians, and remember I started earlier when I said I tried to stay away from calling myself a politician, is that people tend to want to hold the constituents of this country, the electorate of this country, at a certain level, so that the constituents are continuously at your beck and call, always having to come to you for this and having to come to you for that, and that is politics of way back when, and countries that are looking to move into new directions, and in this modern era, in order for us as a small island developing state to really meet our maximum potential, we've got to elevate our people. We've got to put our people on higher levels. We've got to treat them as if they are capable of understanding and making decisions that are going to benefit the country that they love. When our people are educated with trust from the people who were elected to serve, you will find that the country is better for it. And development comes faster, our people are more productive, our economy strives longer, it is stronger, the opportunities are more. It just generally bodes well for the country. If you're going to have people who are constantly dependent on politicians, you're going to have this what we are seeing now, this culture and this environment of being paid for vote. Because, I used to support XYZ and never get nothing, and if you want me vote, you're gonna have to give me. That is the reality. which I encounter on a regular. But our people are placed gradually on higher levels, giving them more autonomy, giving them more responsibility, empowering them. Then you find that people, as you would have said, begin now to look at the issues at the heart of the political discourse and make decisions that are in the best interest of themselves, of their children, of their children's children, which when you look at it comes full circle, it is in the best interest of the nation that we call St. Kitts and Nevis and that we love. And there is where we need to go. We need to look at our constitution, bottom line, EK, to figure out how do we redesign or relook or make amendments to ensure that the constitution reflects the era in which we live, and so that our people are not always seem to be at loggerheads and fighting against each other, and this sense of acrimony, because you look at it, especially in political season, you see how people who under normal circumstances may very well get along.
Mm-hmm.
But politics heightens the emotions, and a lot of things come to the fore, and it's not so nice. I mean, I've had my share of being called out in public square and all kind of things, but we really ought to be, as they would say, leveling up our people to a standard where they hold us accountable, they hold our feet to the fire, and we don't get away with things that we really shouldn't.
Well, Mr. Isles, I am practically sold, so to speak, on what you're saying, because these are the types of things that I would like to hear from our politicians on a daily basis. Because what I am observing, as you said, is people are in a position where they have to keep begging.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't tell me that you so love your country and you so love your people that you are not putting the things in place to move them from point A to point B.
Exactly.
Right now, there's a census going on.
Mm-hmm.
And the census to me is a little bit late, but I would encourage everybody to take part in it. The information that is being sought, I would ask every citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis to give it freely, because we have got to do our part. And information is what drives policies. You have to know where your people are at any given point in time, their standard of living, what they're paying rent for, what they own, what they don't own, what their salaries are. So then you, the politician, can take this information from the statistician and formulate policies that would move your people. So I am of the view that if politicians really, really and truly love their country and love their people, they would adopt the mentality that you are expressing here this morning. So I would say kudos to you. And I hope that you're not just talking like this because you're in opposition, because normally when people get into government, they do a 180 on you and you can't believe it's the same individual.
That is so true. I mean, I've never been in government, and of course, when you get in, you see you see how things really are in terms of administration. But I believe, honestly, that and for me, some people may feel like as a politician, you have all the answers, you know everything, and that is far from the truth. And one of the things that I've always sold myself on is that I don't know everything, and I don't want to come across as knowing everything. But we send our best and brightest universities across the globe for a particular reason. And if you send them to be educated at the highest level with others around the globe, then we are supposed to use those talents, give them the opportunity to showcase their skills. And so my thing is to surround yourself with the best there is, and to give them responsibilities of coming up with plans and policies. I know what direction I would like to go, and I know what the final result I am seeking. But you have got to ensure that your circle is also in that frame of mind to get to where you want to go. And as I said, and I'm very serious about this government and the government, and I've always said it throughout my professional career, and is that you've got to be held accountable. And that is the only way you get things done when people are holding you accountable. You're going to find with me a lot of people, a lot of politicians going to talk a lot of things. They're going to give you the technical side and a lot of stats and facts and a lot of, humanity is what drives. Always has and always will. You see, I come from a place of understanding, of knowing what it is to struggle. I grew up with my mother working 3 jobs to take care of her children, and she was always there, always supportive. Um, at my federal launch, I stood there holding back tears. I don't know if people realize. My wife would have realized because my mother showed up in an NRP shirt. And I remember I said earlier that my family in there.
Your family is
Yeah,
wow.
and she didn't tell me. I think she did it on purpose, and I really didn't expect it. And maybe the moment kind of catch me too, because my sister kind of indicated that my mother was coming, but I really didn't pay it any mind. And I got to the stage, and then I looked down, and then she was taking a photo. And my mother has always supported me, supported our family, supported our children. She loves her grandchildren to death. And at that point, EK, I mean, up to that point, the political adversaries were out and they were trying to come at me and make it, challenge my character and all kind of things. And I think 2 weeks before that, there was a posting which included my wife, and she got all emotional and thing. And I said to her, I understand your emotions because what they said wasn't true. But I always want you to remember that hatred is a heavy burden to carry.
Right.
And whatever it is, our parents, our praying women, we do what we have always done, and we leave these challenges at the feet of the cross. And I am not a holy religious person. I grew up Wesleyan. But I can give a list of experiences where God has showed up and showed off. And because of that, I rest my confidence in his ability to carry me through. And so that period of time was a difficult one, for our family. And leading up to the launch, I really wasn't in, as one of my team members said, I wasn't on my game, so to speak. Even after my presentation, she said, "Well, what would have happened if you were on your game tonight?" and looking down and seeing my mother, I listen. Nothing for the rest of this campaign. Nothing. Absolutely nothing the adversary thinks about throwing or throw at me is going to have any kind of impact going forward. That night, my mother in an NRP shot. That's it. That's it.
You're good to go on that one.
I good to go.
So, I hear you. But yeah. What do you think? I mean, you're bringing a different style and approach to the whole politics thing, because you're focused on the issues, you're focused on the policies, you're focused on moving Nevis from where it is to someplace better. What do you think you can do more, or the NRP can do more, to change the narrative that is out there right now? Because I am being totally honest and frank with you. Mm-hmm. From what I'm hearing from the opposite side is a lot of blaming, a lot of mudslinging, and they're trying basically to stamp out what the NRP's message is. So from your standpoint, you've seen the attacks, you've felt the attacks, you've seen how they can get vicious. What do you think you can do more from your standpoint and the NRP standpoint to get your message out there and to get your style of politicking, so to speak, on the forefront and change the whole narrative?
You can, two things for me. I go to the party level first, and Basically, for me, I believe we just really have to be consistent and to set ourselves for a long battle. And when I say a long battle, not just this election cycle, but election cycles to come. Because what has happened is we have gotten to a point where it, it seems to be acceptable and normal for the mudslinging and the cussing and the character assassinations to come. And why I say that is that people now, it's a show.
Mm-hmm.
It's this grand um, display, and people want to see and laugh and carry on and make fun of.
Mm.
And so we have got to be consistent in our messaging and ensuring that what we are saying really hits at the heart of what the issues are. Because at some point in time, all of that theatrics that is coming from the opposition is going to fade in the face of reality hitting our people and understanding that, um, well, this really doesn't do anything for me, or this really didn't do anything for me. I had a good laugh, but at the end of the day, it never really getting the lower. $25 that was placed on water consumption during the pandemic ain't gone away. The
Mm.
cost of goods in the supermarket are still rising. Our cost of living is still out of out of the reach of a majority of our people. Um, and our message has to be one that connects with people. There must be a human connection. And so I believe our party, rather than just wanting to say X, Y, Z, how do we connect with our constituents? How do we make our message hit home? How do we make our message resonate, mean something? And this is what I've been doing in my country. I spend my time listening. I spend my time listening. My team would say, "As you got to you have to, move a little faster,"
Mm.
because I would spend a half an hour, 45 minutes just listening. And for me, that is the greatest respect you can give to an individual, to listen, not hear, but to listen. Because to listen means you are understanding and you're showing at the end of that some level of human connection, some level of empathy to what the situation is, some level of appreciation for the time spent, some level of gratitude to the ideas and the concerns that were shared. Listening builds the foundation for any policy and program that you're going to put forward. It is one thing to go and tell people you're going to pave roads, having not listened. And it becomes a non issue and they don't really care because the road wasn't an issue in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
But having listened to their concerns, you can now collectively say the majority of people down here looking for alternative housing solutions. And so for me, listening more, understanding and appreciating where our people are, and doing our best to ensure that our message and our policies are in line with the majority of people. I mean, you would know as well as I know that good governance tells us that everybody will not get all of what they want,
Mm-hmm.
but based on certain specifics, everybody should get at least be a minimum. If take housing, for example, um, everybody can't get 5 bedroom houses with big lawns, but good governance says that the bare minimum should be at least a house, whether it is a 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom, and then you provide as a government the opportunity, a strong enough economy that provides employment and sustained prosperity for these people now to say, listen, I didn't get the 5 bedroom, but there's an opportunity for a good paying job. I can add on to what was given or what I was able to achieve. And so for me and for the NRP, and I know we have been doing a lot of that, a lot of listening. Um, of course, the 5 candidates presently, we really came in on the premise of a local election. Um, this hurricane came very early, um, and it, being prepared means that you sometimes have to use your resources to tackle certain or different um, issues, and so the we try to avoid the 5 P's: poor planning, um, presents, poor performances, and so we were really geared in that direction. That has helped us because, as I said, we consistently we are listening, and it is what is driving our policy. That is why we are able to stick to the issues no matter what the the opposition is bringing to the fore. A lot of which is really a lot of fluff, and as one of them like to say, all fraud and
No, Marby.
no no Mobby, and so the grandstanding continues on that side. We're really on this side of the aisle, really trying to find means and ways of elevating.
All right. Well, Mr. Az, I know you probably have a busy day ahead of you, so we're not going to keep it for very much longer. But obviously, based on what you have said so far, people are definitely loving you. I see some people saying, "Yeah, I like him." They probably never heard you before,
Probably.
so they're hearing you now. My advice to you would be to get
Mhm.
on as many platforms as you possibly can, so that
I
people
appreciate that.
can definitely hear your message and hear a different style. Because what is happening is that the noise is dominating the
Hmm.
sphere, and so
Right.
people's emotions are amped up. People are not coming down and really understand what is at play here and what is at stake here. Because I've looked at the economy of Nevis, and there was a time when Nevis' economy was doing better than Sengi's economy.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I think Nevis needs to get visionary leaders at this point in time to further diversify the economy and provide more jobs. Because look at what happened during the pandemic.
Hmm.
Nevis
I
is
mean,
engaged in high end tourism,
tourism.
and that shut down completely.
Yep.
So there needs to be a concerted effort to diversify the economy of Nevis, because every single year you have no less than 200 to 300 kids coming out of school who may want to further their education. An avenue must be available for that. Who may want to go into entrepreneurship, an avenue must be available for that. Who may want to go into manufacturing, whether it be light or heavy or whatever, there
Hmm.
needs to be those visions available and parts available. And only politicians with a vision can do that. So
Yep.
my second to last question to you would be, what would be your overall vision for Nevis going forward, and how you intend to achieve that?
Well, overall, I would really like to see our people, um, in general, be able to have sustained levels of prosperity, to break the generational curse of poverty. And I'll go back to a statement I said earlier. And I believe strongly that in providing opportunities for our people in all of the areas that are connected to the existence is what is going to make the difference, in that area. Of course, we would have spoken, that is the party, quite a bit of how do we plan to diversify the economy, and our party leader has consistently spoken about the blue economy, and in there is additionally the orange economy. And so for me, I want to be able to go to places where we have seen high levels of poverty, and within the next decade, see that come down to internationally accepted, or even below that, that people are really, as I said, living life. That experience in between the coming and the leaving of this world, that people are really not struggling, so to speak. And people are saying, that is high expectations because people will struggle, but it is at a point where it should not be said that is because the country isn't doing well. Um, some people may choose to not to want to elevate themselves, but as elected members, we ought to really put ourselves and our people in positions to have upward mobility over their life consistently. As I said, life is dynamic; things are going to change, but we must be looking always to the ahead of the curve. using, as you rightfully said, the statistics from the census. And I agree with you that people should participate in that, because that is what we are to use and say over the next 10 years, these are the things we need to address, so that 5 years after that period, we are well in range of managing whatever challenges and difficulties may come to our people. And so that is where I would like to see Nevis. How do I think I can help to get there? I spoke of empowering young people, and I believe that is important because that is where the heart of the development of our country is, the young people. And I crafted, um, in skeleton form, a program called a small business development incubator. And the program really is designed to give young people an opportunity to be successful in business development. So we're not just going to be saying, we have $5 million and, you can come and apply an XYZ and leave it at that. We want to give you an honest opportunity to succeed. And so you come, you get the financing you need. Of course, this will all be after going through and helping you with your business plan and all of those things. And then what we will do is to attach a business development officer to your business for an 18-month period. That person is going to help you manage your books, look at your forecast, look at your marketing, all of the things necessary for your business to do well. And it will only be after the business development officer is confident now that your business is strong enough for you to handle it by yourself. We get to the phase of how now we deal with the repayment and those kind of things. One of the things I've said, EK, is that we find that small businesses don't last long because of that overhead that they have to pay and the loan they have to repay. And so my plan involves that first year. Whatever you make in that first year is yours. Mm-hmm. There is no repaying of anything on that. In the small development plan as well, there is the concessionary rates, because small business deserve concessions just like big business.
Indeed.
And so that is part of that plan. As I said, young people is where the heart of the development is. Not saying that other parts aren't important, but I would like to institute a STAR program, and that is Science, Technology, and Research Program. We have had a wonderful relationship with the People's Republic of China and Taiwan, mm-hmm. and they are the leading providers of computer chips. But yet we have not sought to exploit that kind of relationship. And so if we can develop an institute that deals with science, technology, and research, and grant our young people, because a lot of young people are in that sphere. Of course, St. Kitts has a thriving robotics program. If we can get that and to have that accredited and to give our people the opportunity, listen, there's the institute. Go on in there, harness and your craft, and who knows what possibilities can come from that. Who knows what great technological advance can come from St. Kitts and Nevis. Who knows what great medical technology can come from St. Kitts and Nevis, if we provide the opportunity for our people, our young people, with their level of ingenuity, and skill, and talent. And so the STAR Institute or the STAR program would be something I'd really love to institute across St. Kitts and Nevis, free of cost, to our people, to our young people, so that we can put ourselves right in the sphere of what is happening in the technological world, artificial intelligence, and all those things. It's not young people I know worse than anyone else anywhere across the globe, save and except that we are not providing opportunities in that realm. An alternative housing solution, EK, is critical, especially on the island of Nevis. Our cost of living is, as I said, it's out of the reach of some people. I mean, we have housing in Nevis that are called low-income houses, but middle-income people struggle to pay for them. Low income but middle income people struggle to pay for them. And I just find that we have not been serious about finding an alternative source, or alternative option to housing. And all of that EEK comes from listening. We have heard so many ideas of what people would like to see, townhouses. Those are some. That was one of the ideas. One of the things I found interesting to learn is that there are people who say, "Listen, I never own a home. I prefer to rent for the rest of my life,"
Mm-hmm.
and that is an option. And if we have the numbers that support that, why not just provide those kind of things? And reality is, we can move to a position where, we provide housing for rent, and after a period of time, we say, listen, you've been renting here for XYZ, let us transfer that now to home ownership. Um, those are options that we must provide. And then healthcare. And that is a very troubling issue for us on Nevis. We are 5 years into a medical facility. At first, it was called an addition. Now it is called a new hospital because it stands twice the size of the original facility. Um, $19 million in. And I find it funny when we say $19 million in, the opposition say that is far from the truth. But if that is far from the truth, then what is happening is willful neglect. Because if you haven't spent the $19 million, why aren't you spending it to complete the facility? But I think we know better. And it still stands there as a shell, of course. Um, Government refused sound advice from a medical team that was here, albeit because there were some connections to the NRP, only to hire a new consulting firm that said the same thing. And so we find ourselves in that position. Not only that, though, EK, um, as I would have said, we are in an era where things are changing rapidly. Um, we have not forecasted for any improvement, for any growth of our population um, in terms of how we medically respond. We're in an era where basic hospital services now were things that were said to be out of the reach in the past, but now these are things that are expected. The MRIs and the CAT scan and the diagnostics and so on. And in Nevis, our health management systems need improving. The Charlestown Health Center is, as I remember it as a young child. Um, I think it's time for that facility to be upgraded to a medical center. I also believe that there is need for a medical center in Gingerland, and where we can outfit Gingerland and Newcastle with emergency management technicians. I was pleased to see so many graduates of the EMT program in St. Kitts recently, and I could only hope that we would have had the opportunity to have that too, and to bolster our response capabilities. For us to advance our people, EK is not just one thing, it is a combination of a host of things. Because in the development of our people, money isn't everything. People need to feel good about their environment. They need to feel good about their community. They need to feel good about where they live. They need to have certain things that meet the hierarchy of needs. And so it is a combination of things that we ought to do. It is going to take us being resourceful, understanding what is currently in place. How can we, if they need to be fixed, fix them. If they need to be improved, improve them. And if they're not there, how do we implement them for the benefit of our people? And so it is, as I said, a host of things: education, healthcare, housing, job opportunities. It's about being creative. We have creative ideas that we want to put out there. In Gingerland, I want to put down a skills training center. And a lot of people talk about training, and as I said before, people talk about access. But what I have found is that a lot of people want to do the formal training thing, going in the classroom and sitting down, and so everybody deserves an opportunity to have that ability in education. And if we can put down a skills training center, mechanics and what they call them, MUAs, and um, cooking and sewing, and just a facility that allows people to grow professionally without the fear of the classroom, because the classroom can present its own challenges. And finally, EK and the issue of how do we move Nevis forward, I believe in a youth development center, um, a program that I coined the rest, if I can remember it, it's rehabilitation and entrepreneurship skills training, which would be attached to the peace program. So it's rehabilitation, entrepreneurship skills training. And what that does is really to give the young men and women who are part of the program an opportunity to rehabilitate, to get into some entrepreneurship, to develop their skills and training. And ultimately, because I think this was the intended purpose of the program, ultimately to move off of the program. And hopefully they can move into an area where they can sustain themselves and their families and leave that troubled past behind them.
Well, Mr. Isles, you have managed to captivate my interest, my lord. I'm sitting here listening intently. I mean, two separate programs, Rest and Star, I think it is. You came up
Yes,
with?
Western Star.
Wow. Very impressive, if I do say so myself. You see, these are the
Thank
type
you,
of
man.
conversations that the people of St. Kitts and Nevis need to be having, as opposed to the rah rah and the bam 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 bam. I really wanted to ask you about the current political climate and then your thoughts, but I don't want to taint what we have just heard from you
Right.
with that rah rah. So I am going to leave that part until another time, or until
Okay.
I can get you back on a later date. But I want to thank you again so much for
Yes.
taking the time out of your busy schedule. I probably woke up out of your bed after canvassing so late last night, but this is part of the course, my lord. So
Yes, 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 yes.
hopefully you can get accustomed to it and get adjusted to it. But
Yeah,
the message is well received, and I must congratulate you on your delivery, your intent for Nevis, because I myself I have a deep love for Nevis. I even
yes.
think I love Nevis more than people who from Nevis, and I would want to
That's
see
a good thing.
Nevis. Of course, my lord. What if I could come Nevis every day?
Hmm.
Somebody give me a piece of land in Nevis, right? And
Hmm.
as soon as I catch my hand, that's where I'm gonna live, my lord. You understand? Trust me.
Yes.
Nevis to me is out of this world. And I would really
Hmm.
love to see Nevis move from where it is right now into a better place, because I literally hate and cringe whenever I hear this term fear sheer and Nevis have to
Hmm.
look to somebody for what is theirs and this begging. No, I
Yeah.
really hate that. I really hate to hear that about Nevis, because Nevis and its people are not about handouts and looking to people for all these kind of things. Nevis people are hardworking people. They're proud people,
Yes. Yeah.
and I would really love to see a Nevis where this is not the conversation, but the conversation is how best can we move Nevis for Nevis. You know, so
Agreed.
again, thank you, and your final words, your final thoughts. Why should people vote for you? I mean, this is more than enough, but just to wrap it up and round it up and nice it up and put a little icing and some bow on it. Your final words, my lord.
Ike, thank you for the opportunity. It is always good to have these kinds of conversations, and this is the kind of conversation I normally have with people.
Right.
And it is about, for me, as I say, making that human connection and understanding where people are and really want to be. Um, early in Maynard, my former principal at St. Thomas's Primary School once said that you would never stand taller than when you stoop to help a child. And I apply that to politics
Right.
in a sense that your accomplishments will never be greater than when you go to where people are in their lives and seek to elevate them. That has been my purpose um, from the beginning. That will continue to be my purpose. I'm asking the people of Nevis 10, I understand, it is easy for the opposition to say, well, he isn't from Gingerland, but I'm from Nevis, and you're from Nevis. And I believe that you deserve equal representation. I believe you deserve the best representation possible. I believe you deserve an opportunity to have that sustained prosperity that I've been speaking about. I said to you before, and I'll say it again. Nevis's next round of prosperity must come through the Indian. You have now have to become an acceptor of that philosophy and understand that the power to move Nevis now rests in your hands. And a lot of things you have asked for, you can get. You can get the alternative housing solution. You can get that medical facility. You can get improvements to your sporting complex, and not just the sporting complex alone, but programs that are designed to help your son and your daughter excel at every possible level. Those are the things that are possible. You can get the renovated public market with a food court. You can get that road paved in Rollins. You can get that fisheries um, complex or whatever description you want to get it down at Indian Castle. What I'm saying to you is the opportunity now for your development, the development of your constituency, the development of your community, and the development of your island that can only redound to your benefit and that of your children and your children rests clearly in the palm of your hands. There are more than 1,800 of you who have registered voters. I am asking, no, let me change that. I am begging you as a people. See that I am willing to work in your favor. Grant me the opportunity to serve you. If at the end of my tenure you're not satisfied with my service, in consultation and conversation with you, I will not offer myself for a second one. EK, thank you, my brother. Hopefully I get another opportunity to come and talk to you. Maybe we can talk a little bit about the climate you're thinking about.
Indeed. Well, the door is always open. Once the time is available and you're available, definitely you're more than welcome to dig a little deeper into your plans for the people of Nevis. So again, Mr. Isles, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day and keep doing what you're doing. And please, for God's sakes, don't change who you are, because these interviews, they're going to stick around for a very long time. And so if
Yes, well, I'm glad.
in the future you change, just know he can come after you again.
Don't pull that.
Okay, my Lord.
No problem,
right.
man. Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks and have a great one.
Same to you.
All right, bud. Wow, 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 wow. People, what have I been saying for the longest while? This is what we need, yo. Selassie, I know. Oh my God. Watch. Are you over here grinning? I got goosebumps and all. Yo, why can't we get this metal of politicians across the board, so that we don't have this lot of rah rah and hoorah and hoopla and bang 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 bang? Why can't we get people who have a vision of their own, have ideas of their own, and know how to properly articulate them to captivate the minds and the hearts of the soul of the people? Why? And properly articulate your position without being disrespectful, without being condescending, without being insulting, without being toxic. Oh my God, Mr. Esdale say the relationship that they want to put him in down on UDC is toxic. Why everything gotta be toxic though? Like, oh my God. My very first guest since I restarted this whole thing, Mr. Rohan Isles. And ladies and gentlemen, I am impressed. I'm truly impressed. The man just named 2 programs that he wanted to start. 2, And young people at the center of them 2 things there, The future, Star and rest. Remember it. Nobody thief the man thing, because the things them here to stay. Right? Tanya, I am lost for words. When I first heard Mr. Isles, right? It was Friday gone at the NRP launch. As I told you, they contracted me as part of the entertainment segment, and I got to Nevis a little early, so I had enough time to sit down and listen to the presentation of the candidate. And Lord, I hope Miss 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 RJ vexed with me, but when I heard Rohan's presentation, I was like, "Excuse you? What's going on up there?" I mean, his poise, his posture, his deliverance, and yo. So I walk out by now. I gotta find this man here and book him forthwith, just to show my viewers and just to show the people of St. Kitts and Nevis that politics doesn't have to be about the rah-rah and the pomp and the ceremony and the flamboyance. Politics need to be about people who want to actually walk and not just bang them out, who have some kind of ideas, not just come and say, well, we have to engage the youth and put the youth and come with a goddamn program. Come with a program. What you saying? Come with something that I could say, okay, well, okay, I see where you're going with that. I see where you're coming from. Something I could actually analyze and have a conversation about. I mean, got to be, I realized me had to ask too much questions this morning. I know, I love to ask questions, I didn't have to ask too much questions this morning. Because the gentleman obviously knows what he's about. He obviously knows what he's about. This ain't even about me. Because me go ask a question. But I just had to just sit here and listen. And that could only come from seeing what is happening on the ground, seeing what your people are going through, and understand what it is that you need to do as a politician to get them from point A to point B. Better their lives. That is what politicians are supposed to do. Not come around here and blaming everybody when from the get-go. Nobody know what the hell you're going to do and how you intend to achieve it. Because it was not properly outlined. Bringing on issues, definitely. I got his number now. I got his number now. So, tomorrow, our guest will be Marsha Henderson from the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. As I tell her, I don't want the rah-rah. I fed up of the rah-rah. I want substance. I want people who not into the hurting my ears. I don't do that enough for myself. So that the people of St. Kitts and Nevis could see that there's a better way. Doesn't have to be about the bram broke down session, lick back, trouback and broke down and somebody buy and then all them kind of damn stupidness there. Look at what is happening right now. The politicians and the electorate is like a set of prostitutes. You could get them all for nothing. Because everybody only interested in what they could get now. Because here what? The people on the ground now realizing that there is a big gap economically, financially between them and their representative. Prior to an election, your representative could barely pay for their house. Got a broke down Jeep. And from the time they elected, Jeep change. They got this property, that property, that property, that property. And now you can't even buy a damn sweetie who yourself. You might take out a dressing table from one of the companies them around St. Kitts, and then you spend the next 2-3 years up who that there. Then bram, your factory shut down. Bram, your hotel gone panlewe. Bram, and then next thing you know, you out a job and you can't find another job. You got to go lick a politician ass so they could probably give you a work somewhere in a government. And then the government wage bill high. You understand? And so they are not doing enough to make sure that the economy is such that people can thrive and don't have to always be looking to them for a handout. But you see, they know and they understand that if you keep people hungry, you could basically control them. It's like they take after the colonial masters. Wherever they went to teach in university, or where they went to learn in university, they come back and they bring back them kind of mentality. Yeah. Keep them hungry, keep them down, only empower a few so that you can keep yourself in power. And you hold all this money onto yourself so that you know when time come, you could go out and say, well, but I got this $5,000 a. And you know the people need it. We need to change that kind of mentality. And just before we go, I want to speak a little bit too. Sorry. Ike, my daughter Masha, has also talked about the issues, so I will listen to you. Definitely. When Masha come, you're gonna be trouble. There's some comments here, but Ike may know from when divisions get so rogue. Because, well, we know why, you know. After a certain person was introduced into Nevis politics changed. And it ain't changed for the better. Ugh. So, yeah, the point I want to get to before we jump off here is the census. I did the census yesterday. A very nice lady came and she took me through the questionnaire. And the question that she asked me, right now you'd hear a lot of people saying, oh, they want to know how much fridge and how much stove you got in your house, and then kind of thing they post now. People, come down off all your bullshit. Come down off all your bullshit. Please and thanks. The woman ain't asked me how much stove and fridge I got in my house. You hear? As you very well know, there are deep freeze and then there are refrigerators. Refrigerators, you could have the refrigerated section and you have the freezer section. They want to know if you have a deep freeze separate to your fridge. A washer, a dryer, yes, no, maybe so. Story this. Why is somebody calling me at this time and they know very well that I am doing something? May not understand. But anyhow, so the question that the lady is asking is to ascertain or to find out, right, your standard of living. So I would encourage people, because I also expressed this concern to the lady as well who interviewed me, that there is a perception out there that people information is not private. And this government and governments before have proven to the people that you can't trust them with your information. Let me give you a story. I took a loan at Development Bank to buy my sound system. Contrary to what some people thought, Douglas ain't buy my sound system. But sometimes it sound good for, you know, all intents and purposes, a hype. But Douglas ain't buy my sound system. I went Development Bank for a loan to buy my sound system. And I was paying $2,500 a month for my sound system. And I was paying it. But then when the government changed, I lost some of the jobs that I used to get that I could have manfully afford to pay for my sound system. You hear? When the government changed, some of the contracts that I used to get, some of the work that I used to get weren't there anymore. And so I fell behind on my loan. That didn't happen to practically everybody, because even rich people, they fall behind on the loan. Ask Skilek. Big businesses were making multi-million dollars profit a year. They are. So I fall behind. You hear? And only a couple of people would know that I fell behind on my loan. Somebody in the bank and my business partner. So one out of them two persons there had to inform Shady Life that my loan needed servicing. How he get that information there? Sometimes you hear politicians talk and they're going to come up and they're going to say, oh, but you this and you that and you are the government and you are this and you are that. You got this concession, you got that concession. So everybody knows. Every single body knows that your information when it comes to government ain't as private. Because these politicians have proven time and time again that they would use your personal information to shut you up. And that is why for the 2020 election during the pandemic, I made an agreement with somebody to organize myself, to get me hand out of the lion's mouth. So I pay off Development Bank. So then I got that to tell me about no more. I pay off my land so that they wouldn't take it back and wouldn't try to embarrass me with that. This is the reality that we face in St. Kitts and Nevis. This is the kind of dirty, the nastiness that our people practice in this country. And I give you now the backstory and the context, because some people don't seem to understand that we exist in this place and people use your information to attack you. Whether your name cross the quotas or you do some kind of project, whatever it is. You see all the leaks them going on right now? So people very well know that when your information is in the hands of the government, it's not safe. So, when they talk about we reach an all-time low, when the $27,000 FIPS, this shit been happening since watch. Look, leaking of information, people's personal information, ain't just happening just now. The government's them been practicing this shit for a long while. You hear? So miss me with the bullshit. So, having said all of that, right? I am fully well aware how your information could be used against you. And people in St. Kitts and Nevis fully well understand that. They don't have any confidence in the government and the government services. You know why? Because all kind of gutter sniper work inside there. He got a few professional people working in the government civil service, but he got a lot of gutter sniper working there too. And some of them were brought in by the politicians to get dirt on people so that people don't be as vocal when they see shit going wrong. Let's just call it for what it is. And this is my biggest problem with the civil service. Lack of customer service, lack of professionalism, and lack of confidentiality. And some people are brought in there by the politicians them to look dirt on people. So until somebody file a lawsuit, and people have filed lawsuits against the government, Remember recently, some sex tapes come out, and two individuals win some money out of the government because they come right out of the police station. You hear? So not even in the police force you have confidentiality. And not because the service itself is bad, but there are some gutter snipes working in there who don't seem to understand the meaning of confidentiality and people's personal information. And so the government spends money on that because people were successful in civil court suing the damn government. I should have sued Development Bank or the government when Shady Life could have gone on Facebook and said that me need to go and service me life. But you see, I'm that kind of person. Because sometimes she behind worse than she in front. So that was water off my back. Here again, remember the other day Kenrick Simmons' application for a firearm come out? And you see the letter with John L. White on his behalf come out too? That they only could have come from a number of places and for a number of reasons. I'm just saying all this to put into perspective that sometimes you really can't trust the government and trust the people who are working in the government with your information. So I understand why some people are reluctant to give certain information. But people, hear me and hear me well. This is my plea, right? And I'm not even supposed to be doing this. But you see, I love my country. And sometimes you have to be the change that you want to see. You have to put aside your differences, put aside your fears, and sometimes trust the process. And I'll tell you why. It is my understanding that the PS for sustainable development is a very political person. They don't like when you talk about the government, but they're very much steeped in politics. They take everything personal. And so it is my understanding from certain sources that when my name is mentioned, it's a no. Just like how over in Culturama, when my name is mentioned, it's a no. Because EK talks too much. EK criticizes the governments too much. Imagine EK a damn citizen, who da pay taxes, but me can't say what me see. Me can't have an issue with what me see. Otherwise, deny EK certain services. So, to the PS of sustainable development, family, I'm going to show you where me different to you, right? Even though I was denied an opportunity, I am not going to take it personal, and I am not going to hold on to it, because when you carry on hate and vengeance in your heart, it make you ugly. And you sure you see I getting better looking by the day, because I've learned to let go of a lot of things. You understand? So, with that being said, I am going to do my best to use my platform. And even though I was excluded from the promotion because of my drive, so to speak, to highlight the ills and highlight the wrongs that are going on in my country, I am going to let go all of that and use my platform and use my voice to encourage the people of St. Kitts and Nevis to take part in the census. And I'll tell you why you need to take part in it. Because you see, information is what drives policies. The things that we argue and we cuss about on a daily basis about the government not putting certain things in place is because they don't have the information, they don't have the statistics in order to make informed policies to deal with a lot of things. Hear me again. Policies are made and driven by information. Information that must be collected, that must be analyzed. The statistics department does that. So they need to know what your standard of living is. They need to know what you're paying for rent. They need to know what your salary is, so that they can then, in turn, do certain things to either get you from point A to point B, to either put a policy in place to put a cap on these goddamn rents. Because when you look at the rent in certain places, whether you call it high end or low end or middle end, some of the rent them damn ridiculous. So if the government could collect information with regard to people's rent, because you see how sometimes people go on Facebook and say, how come Nali rent in a US? How come this? How come that? How come way, ba, 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 boof? If we can give the necessary information to show where we're living, how we're living, the salaries that we're making, the rent that we're paying, the water that we make use of, the energy that we use, whether it be gas, solar, or whatever. That information can then be used to formulate policies to help people. I was assured by the young lady yesterday who interviewed me that the information will be safe. But as you know, he got a lot of gutter snipes working in the civil service. So there might be a chance that your information might be used against you. But for those of you who aren't too vocal in the political sphere, you don't have to worry about that. It's only people like me and other people who are calling on the radio station and, highlight certain ills and certain things about the governments, them who are at risk. You, the ordinary citizen who don't get mixed up in the politics, who aren't vocal, you ain't got to worry about. It's only people like me. Okay? So, people, quell your fears and partake in the census. We need to offer the information so that these politicians could do some work. And now, I would like everybody in St. Kitts and Nevis to partake and to be truthful about the information that you give. Because what will happen then is that will give me and other people who are vocal ammunition to go after some of these lazy-ass politicians to say, we gave the information. You now know what is happening in the country. And so it is now in your court to come up with some policies to deal with some of the rent, to deal with the cost of living, to deal with salaries, because everything is going up and your salary now move. So when they go to the Chamber of Industry and Commerce and to the business community and say, well, hey, look, rent is this, cost of living is this, and people's salary is this. How can we fix it? This is what the statistics are bearing out. And the only how we could get those statistics is to give the information. Hear me again. The only how we could bear out these things is to give the information. I found that some of the information was a little bit personal, but I gave it in good faith. And hear me, if you for any reason think that your information was used in a manner that it was not intended to be used, civil court is alive and well. Sue the goddamn government and make some money out of them. But don't let your fear of your information being used against you stop you from taking part in the census. The information that you're going to give will help to craft policies. The government will use that information and see how best they could impact the lives of citizens. Be truthful in the information that you give and have a little faith. And there is a recourse if your information is used for anything that you don't want to be used. You use it for. And that is to get policies in place. When everybody don't give their information about what the rent where they're paying, then we could ask the representative, you know, I want $500. I want you to go in, create a policy to put a cap on these goddamn rent. I mean, you can't tell people what to rent their house for, but if you're going to be renting your house for a certain amount of money, well, then that could be perceived as an extra income, and so therefore the government is going to tax you on it. And if you don't want to pay the tax, you bring down your goddamn rent. So like a politician in it. Yeah. That will be the alternative. Since you are charging these exorbitant monies for rent, right? Given what your mortgage is and what your insurance is, you are making a nice, sexy profit. And so therefore, we can charge you as a business. We can make you get a business license. So if you want to keep your rent so high, get a business license, pay some taxes. You hear? so that all that extra money can then go back into the treasury to fund programs and policies for people who are less fortunate. And so I'm sure that a lot of homeowners ain't gonna want to pay an added tax. So therefore, they can bring down their goddamn rent so that people don't have to pay more than 50% of their salary in rent and then got to go look man or got to go sell their body just to have some kind of decent life. And that in turn could quell some of the physical abuse, the sexual abuse that goes on in our country, and people using their daughters to make money to pay for their lifestyle. It could bring down a lot of things. But first, you need to give the information. Take a leap of faith. Give the information. Make yourself available to give the information to the census officers that are going around. If you can't be home at a certain time when they're in your area, I'm sure you could call the Ministry of Sustainable Development, get a time frame, speak to somebody, find out who will be working in your area and how you could arrange with them a time that is most convenient to you. You know, go let them in your place. I did my interview on the landing. That's what the lady said. She comfortable. She want breeze. She didn't want to see where in the place. She just want the information. And so you could do it on your landing. You could do it on your step. Give the information. Give the correct information. Anything that you're not comfortable with giving, you don't have to give. But just know that if you don't want to give certain information, it could also be to our detriment. Because then the people would not have a clear picture of what is truly happening in St. Kitts and Nevis, and then in turn craft policies to assist. So this will be my message from now until the census thing is over. Do the census. Give the information. And then we turn the attention on the government and hold them responsible and accountable. You have my information. What are the new policies that you are coming up with? And the rent thing is just one example that I'm giving, because everybody that talk about rent. So that's just one example that I'm giving. Okay? So, I really want to see that from here. Trust me. That's just one example. Right? So, we're almost out of time. It's 2 minutes to 11. I want to thank you folks out there for joining me. Let me just take some of these comments here on the Facebook thing. Judy says, thank you. It's my pleasure. He kept working. Many people prefer to talk on the phone. You do what is best to get the information. Yes, some people would prefer a phone conversation. Victoria, high rents all over the world. Victoria, where the high rents in Timbuktu, Australia, Japan, ain't got nothing to do with me, darling. I live St. Kitts and Nevis. So let me focus on St. Kitts and Nevis. Thank goodness people living better here than in many places in America. Okay. But the rents are high. They have against the have-nots. People being using their granddaughters to help pay bills a long time. Hope this practice can end, but it takes everyone to be involved. Victoria, I don't got a problem with posts like these, because you start up by telling us that rent is high all over the world. I don't give a shit. I don't live in America. I live here. And so my focus will have to be here. To tell me that rent high in America does what for me, really? Oh, it's high all over the world, so no. You don't want to hear that there. Hear me. Give the information so then the policymakers can look at the information, see where the issues are, and come up with an idea to either get them in line You assume that people living here. Sometimes you see some people, they got a nice house, they got a nice car, but they catch their ass up who them. I'm a prime example of that. Prime example. You see, got this, got that, but the payments alone kill you. Sometimes when you don't pay your bills on a monthly basis, you pay out like $10,000 and you now make $10,000. And that's because you want to keep up with the Joneses. That's because you want you're cheering them to get some kind of nice life. So you put yourself in expenses for that. So sometimes you see people with things that you see people live a certain way, that catch their ass because you don't know what their reality is. You assume that people here living good. And this is what the census will bear out. That's why I'm asking people to be truthful. Your expenses may be $5,000 a month, but you ain't making $5,000 a month. But you need to have a decent standard of living. So just because you ain't making $5,000 a month, meaning you can't live a decent life? People like to say, oh, live within your means. But hey, if we could put a cap on some of these prices for some of these products and services, people wouldn't have to go down that road. People want a decent standard of living that they see around, and the big gap, like you said, between the haves and the haves not, is wide. And some may say that it's overreaching, but the government needs to put a cap on some of these things. Since you're making so much money off of your rent, well, then that's a business. You need a business license. You understand? Good. What works out there in the rest of the world might not work here. Tailor it for us so that all your people can prosper. Sometimes these rents, you look at it, they don't pay the people their mortgage 10 times over. And every year they rent them going up. I like these rents in Bastille. My God. So, Victoria, you like you don't listen, you know. I also said in my presentation that you can't tell people what to charge for their services. All right? But if your services that you're offering sees you making a serious profit off of what you are selling, then obviously you're running a business. And so therefore, if you want to continue to make that kind of money, the choice is yours, but you'll have to obtain a business license, or you bring down your rent so that more people could have more money in their pockets to do other things. It's a give and take. How would it look if Ramsden had the business license? How the government will make back tax? So they could just come in and set up a business and they ain't pay no kind of tax. This is what's going on with some of these homeowners. They're renting like a business because it's a business. But do you have a business license for it? Are you paying your taxes for it? Because I got to pay taxes for my business. My service is such that you have to get a business license, otherwise they're going to shut you down. So it's a give and take. No, I don't want to tell you what to charge for your rent. Man, you could charge what the ass you want to charge. But if you are making a profit and you're running a business, then you need to get a business license. You need to pay some more taxes. The land and house tax is fine. No problem. Everybody got to pay that. But if you're running a business out of your home, then there's some standards that you have to abide by. There are things that you have to put in place. I know some people don't pay some big rent, you know, and certain things ain't available to them. The repairs ain't coming fast enough. This ain't available, that ain't available. But you rent high. So you need to do things properly. Anyhow, Victor, I'm going to go back and forth with you all morning. God bless up yourself, family. I'm just saying that there needs to be balance. Yes, you see, Victoria, you agree with me listen to what I'm saying first before we get into the wrong, because me and you basically say the same thing. That charge you in US dollars. So you got to go find US money who go pay. And you're not living in a US country. But that's where the price in. But anyhow, we're going to a whole talk about renting. My time is up. I want to thank those of you who tuned in for being here. Tomorrow, I saw a message coming in here, and I just want to make sure. Today, no, tomorrow, or the weekend, it won't be live. All right. So, folks, again, thank you so much for joining me on Let's Get Real. We'll do this again tomorrow morning. I just have to pin down my guest for tomorrow. Hopefully, what I announced previously holds true, and I can get Miss Marsha Henderson on the cam to talk to you about her candidacy and what she intends to do for the people of Central Bass there, how she intends to achieve that. All right, so folks, enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you at 1:30 on Freedom FM for Issues. Dr. Terrence Drew will be my first guest for this afternoon. Of course, we're going to be talking politics, bang, 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 bang. What you saying? Oh, yeah? All right. Thanks again, everybody. Bless up.